In this tutorial, I will talk about the last two view panels that are available within the session editor, which are IPA Lookup and the Find and Replace function. So starting with IPA Lookup, and I'll bring up IPA Lookup to our interface and move it to the top of my interface here. IPA Lookup is what assembles the dictionaries in FON, and the dictionaries in FON for IPA transcription take two different forms. The first is dictionaries of pronounced forms, so you can think about these dictionaries as lists of words and corresponding IPAs. And the second type of dictionaries we have with an IPA lookup are transliteration systems that will build on conventions for orthographic transcription that will help derive IPA transcriptions. And those transliteration systems are very useful for languages that, one, don't have dictionaries of pronounced forms, and two, have an orthography that's maximally representative of the phonology of the language. So, of course, those dictionaries, those transliteration dictionaries, have limitations when it comes to allophonic variation and other things like that, but they still can provide you with a good foundation for doing work on languages for which there's no dictionaries of pronounced forms. And so if we look at all the dictionaries available in FON right now, so we have Arabic, which is a transliteration dictionary, Catalan, which is a list of words, same for Dutch, English, and we have IPA transliteration, and so on, and we can continue. We see we have a very nice list of languages supported, and the way we've come up with these languages has always been the same. It's been through collaborations with people working on these languages. So one of our latest additions here is the Yue Chinese, so Cantonese Chinese dictionary, and here we have a Mandarin Chinese dictionary thanks to people working out in Hong Kong. And we also have an IPA dictionary that comes from a student working on the acquisition of IPA as a first language. So that you can see that the source of these resources is very, very, really varies depending on who needs them. And so what we do is we'll work in close collaboration with people to bring those resources and build them into FON, at which point they become available to every user of FON. So our current session is on English, so what I'll do is select a dictionary of English. And immediately what you can see is that we have some representation for good morning here, but because in English a word like good could be pronounced with stress, with a full-fledged vowel, or it could be pronounced in a lenited way, or in a way that whereby the vowel is not under stress and so is produced as schwa. Then when we have different word candidates for a given word, then FON gives us that choice. So you can then select what form you want to set for your particular study. And so this is in the case where you have multiple words. When there's a single word only, then only one candidate gets. So I'm 6, then there's no other variations there. So, but back to good morning, we have that choice. So that what we can do using this IPA lookup system is, and here I'll use the override function because there's already something in those tiers. And so what you can do is say, okay, well, I will set that form, for my IPA tiers. And here you can notice that I've inserted the form for the IPA actual as well. And the choice to do that is always left to the user. But what matters here is that you can use this to come up with a quick and dirty basis for actual transcription. So in this particular case, all the sounds and sound combinations that the speaker is producing accurately don't need to be retranscribed. So there's something very useful about that. And that covers the usage of IPA lookup on a record by record basis. So now, if you have a full session to transcribe, of course you may not be interested in doing the work on a record by record basis. So what we have in the interface is also a system for auto transcribe, which you can bring up. And here you have the options again to override or not, and to map your transcriptions in the target and or actual tier, and also select the syllabification option you want so that these new transcriptions are syllabified according to the language that you're working with. So in this particular case, we would need one of the syllabifiers for English. So I'll select English Simple here. And then we have options. You can map the IPs for all of the records, or for a given record range, or for given record participants. And so this is all like options that give you some flexibility to perform that blanket operation. So if I were to do this here, I would overwrite my transcriptions and click on OK, and that would retranscribe, literally retranscribe every one of my records here, which I obviously don't want to do in this particular case. So what I'll do is close my session without saving it, because I don't want to lose my data. So I will say no, and just immediately return to the session. Okay, the first one. So now what we've done is we've covered the step-by-step or record-by-record function for IPA lookup, and we've also used the IPA, the auto-transcribe function. And finally, in this interface, you have a few other buttons: import IP, export IP, and a console there. And this always involves, these relate to more advanced functions that are not required for our current exploration. But it's good to know they're there, because it tells you that you could import IPA forms and create yourself a new dictionary, for example. And a dictionary doesn't have to be for a whole language. Sometimes a dictionary, all you need in it is something like 20 or 40 words that correspond to the words that are relevant to your own research. So even if you're working on a language that is not currently supported by FON, and let's say you don't have the resources to develop a dictionary for that language, or you don't, and the orthography for the language is not phonemically transparent, then what you can do is still create a mini dictionary that will serve your research, and then get on with the goals of your research, and by building those resources for yourself that you can then decide to share with the rest of the research community, or keep for yourself. This is really your decision here. And finally, the last view panel we'll cover is very quickly is the find and replace view panel that you can use to look for given phones, characters or character combinations in any tier or in specific tiers, and also replace, if you are doing a find and replace operation, replace that target character by other characters. And in this tutorial, which is only about presenting you with the interface, I won't go into the detail of this, and what we'll do instead is dedicate a tutorial to how to use find and replace, and also the options that are available within this function.